What's up guys and dolls, my name's LeakyTapsMan aka Mr. No Days Off. Okay, so I've got a review for the new DLC for Gears of War 3 called RAAM's Shadow. It's campaign driven downloadable content, so it's all in the campaign. You can play it in co-op or arcade mode like the normal Gears of War 3 campaign, so that's quite cool. Essentially the story is that it focuses on the days just after Emergence Day, so Gears of War 1, that was Emergence Day. This is kind of filling the gaps on the stuff that you didn't see. So basically you're in the city called Ilima and you're trying to stop bad stuff happening, but we all know it does anyway because we basically know how the story happens, how it ends in this case. So you have the COG sections where you're playing as this guy named Dusty, who you've seen in the other games, but he was in a backwards role. No, not a backwards role, but he wasn't one of the main characters, and now he obviously is. We see a young Jace from Gears 3. We see him with his bad man attitude, thinking that he can take on the Locust army himself, which, by the way, fighting the Locust is so much more fun than fighting Lambent, 10 times better. So yeah, in terms of characters, it was cool to have a change of characters, but when they're all just roided up meatheads that do crummy one-liners that just make you cringe, it's kind of irrelevant whether you're playing as one or the other because they all just seem the same. But the main thing that's interesting about this DLC is that you can actually play as General RAAM, which is actually really cool. You can command your little krill army, so you can point your finger and say, "Bat, go kick the crap out of this dude." I would say that playing as, although it is extremely cool to be playing as General RAAM, it is incredibly easy. You find yourself not being in any real danger, even on insane difficulty, which is the highest one, and especially if you're playing in co-op, then it defeats all real challenge. As in the RAAM sections at least, you still get to play as the COG in a lot of the other sections. It kind of alternates from COG to RAAM and back and forth. So yeah, the RAAM sections are far too easy for me, but they are enjoyable nonetheless. I mean, if they made it any more difficult, then it would make RAAM not seem as kick-ass as he did in Gears of War 1. So I can see why Epic made it the way they did. It's understandable. In terms of longevity, I guess you're looking at about 3 hours, maybe just under, especially if you're playing in co-op. But there's obviously replayability in terms of the new achievements, and playing it in co-op and playing it in arcade mode. You get more than your 3 hours, but the core story will be around that time, really. Which I guess is not terrible, considering how long the actual Gears of War 3 campaign was. But when you look at the price, which is 1200 Microsoft points, I don't really think that's good value for money. I got the season pass. Yeah, I just think for 1200 points you should be getting a more substantial edition than basically 3 hours worth of content. When you look at a lot of other DLCs, like Red Dead Redemption's Undead Nightmare DLC, that was like 1600 points, and that added a whole new campaign, not just a couple of hours, but like a substantial 10-15 hours easily. I think Epic have got a bit greedy with this one, but the actual core content is good. The gameplay is what we've come to know and love from Gears. It's not necessarily getting stale, but it's kind of got that whole been there done that feel, and I think for Gears of War 4 they've got to shake things up quite a bit to keep a lot of people interested like myself. The ending, which I won't spoil, but the final boss is quite cool. I mean, you can obviously decipher who you're fighting at the end. I mean, the clue's in the name. It's obviously better than Gears of War 3's final boss was, because that was just atrocious. It wasn't an epic fight like some of the other ones that you get in Gears, but it was good nonetheless. Overall, I'd say it was a good addition to the Gears of War universe, but was it a necessary one? Probably not, but I'm sure fans of the series appreciate it nonetheless. Any new campaign content is always welcome. I just think for the price point, it's really not worth getting, so unless you're a major fan of Gears of War, or you're on the fence about getting the season pass and you think maybe some good campaign content will sway me, then it might be worth it for you. Otherwise, I would recommend waiting for it to drop in price in one of the sales, which it eventually will, we all know it will. In terms of a score, out of 10 I would probably give it a 6, which sounds quite brutal, but it's mainly due to the pricing and not the content. If it was on content alone, I'd give it a 7. Alright, thanks very much for watching. I am LeakyTapsMan, over and out.